I am going through all the perks, L mods, and fiddle grades to test every single base item with all 9 augments to test which ones are working, not working, busted, and also overpowered. Now, today's video, we're going to be actually diving into all of the actual changes to all 12 perks and even some of their augments. Now, there's a lot of little minor changes where it's just like verbiage changes, but I want to speculate on that. And then there are some actual nerfs and even a few buffs and adjustments that I want to be able to talk about. So with all that being said, let's just get right into today's video. All right, so here on the Zombies Info Hub, the very first thing I want to talk about is what this looks like. So I actually have highlighted all of the, or italicized all of the new descriptions, well, all of the descriptions, whether they were new or not. But you're gonna also notice that for anything that has had just a verbiage change, I've went ahead and one-lined the old verbiage and entered in the new verbiage. And then anything that got an adjustment to how it works or functions, I also made a change there. So I just want to go through quickly all of these so that way you're fully updated on what's actually changing. So nothing is changing from Juggernog. Granted, I mean, they changed the description from increase maximum health by 100 to increase maximum health from 150 to 250. I don't know why they specifically specified that, but hey, whatever. Hardened plates actually got an adjustment. So the adjustment is that the damage mitigation has been slightly reduced, meaning that the amount of times you can get hit while you have armor on has been reduced, effectively nerfing hardened plates. So if you use hardened plates often, that's something that we're going to have to test. From earlier during the beta, we went ahead and did some testing and just at base. So we know what everything is at base. Once you actually have on hardened plates, then we'll be able to test what it looked like from last year and its values to this year. So as an example, from last year, if you had on hardened plates at 250 HP or between rounds 1 to 10, one plate will be a 21 hit down. So we're expecting for this to be even less hits before you are down. I hope that makes sense. And then additionally, Turtle Shell has also gotten an adjustment. Turtle Shell, so armor acts as a shield on your back, completely absorbing damage to the rear. What this said before was no damage mitigation when hit from the front, but that has been removed. And now this adjustment, armor completely absorbs damage to your back while also now allowing normal damage mitigation to your front. So you will be taking damage to the front. Up next, durable plates just got a change in this verbiage. Now it is increased armor durability versus before it says slightly increased armor durability. Normally, they'll use slightly when they mean like a small difference, right? But if they're going from slightly increased to increase, I would imagine that this might actually be a buff because yes, let's increase it. I figure, you know, like 10%. I mean, that's not the case with durable plates. Durable plates was actually pretty weak. But in my brain, when I hear slightly increased, that means like, okay, so just a little bit. So I think that this is actually a buff. Everything else, for the most part, is the same. Obviously, we got 2 new perks. Shake It Off coming, which is incoming damage will occasionally be significantly reduced. Can't wait to test that. And then Iron Core, your health is increased, so all of your armor plates are broken. So I think that's going to be pretty cool as well. Excited to try that. Up next, we've got Quick Revive. So Quick Revive did get a change of verbiage, but no actual difference. Recover health and revive allies faster. So reduce the health regen delay time by 50%, reduce the time it takes to revive an ally by 50% is what it was in BO6. Now, they probably changed this because they did just change how health regeneration works. You actually start regenerating health 3 seconds faster than you did in Black Ops 6. If you have not watched the video, I posted a link right here for you guys to go check out that video. They did make an adjustment to EMT. So EMT allows allies to keep all of the perks on their bleed out cycle. They adjusted this to where players with this augment now keep up to 5 of their perks when you revive. The way that I showed you guys last year, so what is the bleed out bar, right? The bleed out bar is the first 3 perks on your perk bar. So if you get Juggernog, Stamin Up, and Speed Cola, and then all the rest of your perks in that order, Juggernog, Stamin Up, and Speed Cola will be the very first 3 perks on your bleed out bar. If you buy Quick Revive, it's automatically placed at the beginning of the perk bar. So if you buy Quick Revive in any order, it's automatically at the front. So this does work in solo. So if you revive yourself, then you would normally naturally keep all the perks on your bleed out bar. So the perks on your bleed out bar are those first 3 perks, or Quick Revive if you ended up buying that at some point, obviously, because you have EMT. So which perks automatically stay? The first 3 perks, including Quick Revive. If the timer run past any perk on the bleed out bar, it will be temporarily enabled while revived, meaning that you will need to buy another perk at regular price in order to get full access to that perk again. So I showed this in my Quick Revive video from a year ago, and you can actually see that in the video when you go down. Actually, I've got an image. Perfect, I found it. All right, so you can see here that this is your perk bar. If you went down, these first 3 perks are your bleed out bar. Once you go to bleed out, if this timer goes through the perk, it will become an expired perk. If you are revived at any point after any perks are expired, then it becomes a temporary perk, and you would need to purchase this perk again in order to actually go, or excuse me, you will actually need to purchase any other perk. Oh, let me bring it back up. You need to purchase any perk at all. So you can purchase this, in this case, this Deadshot or Juggernog. You can purchase a brand new perk that's not a temporary perk or on your bleed up bar or on your perk bar right now. And it will recover all of the other 2 perks or 3 perks that are effectively temporary. That temporary enablement does protect you if you do go down again. So if you do go down, it will. Once you go down, you still follow regular rules and lose 1 perk, but the other 2 remain active. So every time you go down, you will lose one of these perks. If you've only got 3 perks active, you only have 3 perks in your perk bar, when you go down, you will lose 1 perk, and then the other 2 will be on your bleed out bar if you have only 2. So that's how this works. Now, this change to EMT actually makes it to where players with this augment now keep up to 5 perks when they are revived. So this means that this should mean that the bleed out bar should become 5 perks. So instead, in this example, your bleed out bar should become Quick Revive, Stamin Up, Jug, Deadshot, and Speed Cola, and Stamin Up. My bad. So that's what it should become. That's what we're going to assume, because players with this augment now keep up to 5 of their perks when revived. This would just, so I am expecting that that's what this that means, that the bleed out bar will now have 5 perks on it, which would be pretty cool. That would effectively mean that you get 5 extra lives, because if it still works with expired perks and temporary perks, every time you buy just 1 perk, you reopen up all 5 perks. And then if you go down with only 5 perks, again, you still got Quick Revive at the front, and you lose that 5th perk, allowing you to now have 4. And then you come back up, you still got Quick Revive, you buy 1 more perk, you can have another perk if you want to. If you don't get the chance to get another perk, then now you get down again. Now you got 3 perks, and then you get down again, now you got 2, and then down again, now you just got 1. That would be just Quick Revive. So this will give you 5 whole extra lives, which, like, am I okay with, like, taking the buff here or the nerf to hardened plates? Yeah, I'm fine with that for this. From there, we also got an adjustment to equivalent exchange. So before, if you have Quick Revive while down, killing an ally will revive you. This can be done up to 3 times. Now, you always go into your last stand pose. Quick Revive is no longer removed when you shoot a zombie and come alive. And you keep all perks if you kill an enemy while down. I don't know if this means that you keep all perks that are on your bleed out bar, or all perks that you had before you went down. So this would be interesting to be able to see. From equivalent exchange, I actually don't believe that it really worked as well. What perks do you keep if you went down? Only the unexpired perks on your bleed out bar. So this is how it was before. The only perks that you kept that you kept when you went down were the unexpired perks. So hopefully, let's just say that that's what that means. You keep all perks. You keep all the perks from your bleed out bar. Again, like I said, today we're going to do a lot of speculating, and that's fine. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think that these things are. Then we got emergency medical kit. You can now craft a second self-revive up to 4 times. I mean, literally, they're allowing us to just last so much longer in gameplay. And then adrenaline rush. Killing a special or elite enemy will start your health generation. I actually love this from I can't remember the name of it from Warzone, but I loved it. Really great perk to have. All right, double tap. Double tap got no changes at all. We got double down. Bullet weapons have increased penetration damage through zombies. I'm excited to test that. And then also double dealer. Every 4th bullet in your weapon magazine deals double damage. Cannot wait to test that as well because that should effectively boost your. Well, I'm not gonna do the DPS today. If you want to know how this would affect your DPS, make sure you subscribe and come back. Come hang out with us on live stream when we testing this out. All right. Keep on going. Depth perception. So small change. Obscured enemies are outlined now versus keylined. What's the definition between keylined and outlined? Keylined definition. A keyline can refer to a graphic design element including cuts, folds, or placement, or a landscape design concept for managing water and soil on sloping land. It is a boundary line that separates color and monochromatic areas. Wait, are they really allowing you to start a free trial to get definitions? What the fuck is going on with this country, this world? Where's the... I'm about to say, I really can't see the fucking definition? A line listing... That's not the fucking one. And then obviously we know the definition of outline. But just to go to it, draw, trace, or define outer edge or shape of something. So this makes me nervous because Depth Perception's key lining from Black Ops 6 was already shitty. Let me show you what it looked like. This is what zombies looked like in Black Ops 6 when they were keylined. And there would be a little glow that would go around their body, and you can kind of see, the ridges and shit in them. But that was it. This was really bad. It was actually 100% better to just have on blind or low color mode or something like that, or high contrast mode. So if they've specifically changed the verbiage from keylined to outlined, I hope that does not mean that now there's literally just an outline and no like pulsing red or anything, because that was a major problem. It looked like shit. So hopefully they didn't change too much about that. Hopefully it's the same, or they actually made it better. Small adjustment to critical eye, which actually is kind of bad. Small chance that a body shot becomes a critical shot is what it used to do, right? So small chance that a body shot becomes a critical shot. But there's a new adjustment. A slight cooldown has been added and does not work with explosive weapons or one-hit weapons. Well, we knew from last year that it did not work with explosives or one-hit weapons. But the fact that they added a slight cooldown, that is not fun. Because beforehand, which one we got? Critical eye. Beforehand, there was a 10% chance, specifically literally like 1 out of 10 body shots to this, which I thought was pretty balanced with the rest of Depth Perception. I mean, literally, yeah, like most people use critical eye, or maybe like, I don't know what anybody else used, but this was actually pretty strong and it was very effective. So adding a cooldown to this, I don't particularly like, because I felt like this was like perfectly balanced. Granted, it feels like they made it cool down to fit how weak the rest of the augments were in Depth Perception. You guys let me know your thoughts about that, and even if you used it, and even if you care about that. We got hidden gems, which Depth Perception can now see loot, and then Depth Perception couldn't see loot before? No way. No way we couldn't see loot before. Oh, wow. No, you could not see loot through the walls and stuff. Oh my God. Depth perception was even worse than I thought. Holy shit. And now there's a whole augment for that. That's horrible. Depth perception is supposed to. Whatever. And then Sixth Sense. See enemies close behind you and take less damage from behind. That's going to be pretty cracked out with Turtle Shell, actually. All right. Then we've got Vulture Aid. So increase the variety of loot dropped by enemies. They have removed additional loot takes the form of essence bottles and small ammo drops. I am assuming this is because there's probably going to be some other form of loot drops. I hope that means that this is basically getting a buff. I hope. From there, the other adjustment is with Picky Eater. So there has been a chance to drop has been lessened slightly. So probably not going to. I think with Vulture Aid beforehand with Picky Eater, what was this? So the chance depends on the equipment, but it seems to drop about 5 times as much, which means that if you would normally get, let's just say, for example, a Monkey Bomb every 1 out of 5 games instead of like whatever, then you would get, every 1 out of 5 games, then you would get it 5 times as often. So you get in 5 games, 25, essentially. Like that's what it felt like. It depended upon like how much you take in the rounds and all that kind of stuff. But from some of my testing, without the augment of 1,200 enemies, I got 6 Molotovs. With 1,200 enemies, I got 31. For every 201 Molotovs, for every 201 enemies, there was 1 Molotov drop. Without the augment, and then with the augment, for every 39 enemies, there was a Molotov drop. So you can see here a couple different examples of some of that stuff. So, I mean, there were a lot of drops. To be honest with you, there were a lot of your current equipment. I think there were a lot of drops with this. So, like, I'm not upset about the nerf at all, but there were a crap ton of drops. It's just that not all the drops were always as effective, especially if you're running a certain specific loadout. And then from there, we've got our extra serving, which special on elite enemies, you kill have a chance to drop large essence. And then armor matic, I like that. I actually like that name. Picking up an armor plate actually or automatically applies it to your vest. So I guess that's something that we're getting at. I figured I would love to just have that period. All right, for melee Macchiato, I'll replace weapon gun butt with a deadly punch. They have removed the deadly punch that sends enemies flying portion of this. So I assume this means that enemies won't be flying anymore. Nerf to fucking fun. Oh man, nerf and fun. That's ridiculous. All right. So the adjustment they've also made, the damage of each punch continues to increase until round 30. Great buff. The punch itself is faster. Fantastic buff. Expect different damage multipliers depending on the melee weapon you use. So just to kind of give you some information. So beforehand with melee Macchiato, how fast you would go. Wow, I was so good last year. There was no reason for me to even know how quickly you could melee. The activation delay, the punch recovery, and the weapon recovery. There was no reason for me to need. But I did it, so I'm glad I did it, because who knew that they were going to allow us this year to be doing this, and now I don't have to go backwards and test. This is so hilarious. I think this is actually should be add a 0 to all of this. No, I was right. It was pretty quick. 80 frames. All right. So the total time it took beforehand was 80 frames. So that's just over a second. When you got 60 frames or 60 frames per second or per whatever it is. Okay, so this was one shot up until round 20. So this is getting a 50% boost, a 50% boost as well. Let's see what else. What is the base buff to any melee weapon, and does it change based on a melee weapon? So last year, the buff was 4 times or 400%, and it did not change per melee weapon. But this year, this buff will be changing per melee weapon. God, it's like I was testing this stuff knowing that I was going to need it in the future. I'm excited. What trajectory of the angle for which zombies go flying? 60 degrees. And now, guess what? Them motherfuckers are going straight out in front of you, probably. That shit sucks. What is the speed for which they fly through the sky? Who gave you a goddamn platform? So they can fly for up to 1.5 seconds, but it's difficult to measure speed because they kind of soar in the sky and the trajectory. That's true. There also were 4 types of punches. Hopefully we get all of those types of punches back. That actually kept it pretty interesting. So yeah, huge nerf to fun for Melee Macchiato, but great buff to the gun itself, or to the melee weapons itself. All right, so strength training. So beforehand, you can one-hit normal enemies for more rounds. This is now what this says. Well, beforehand, it says your punch can one-hit enemies for longer. So now this just says more rounds. Hopefully that also means for longer than 30 rounds at base. What was it beforehand? It went up to round 25, so it got a 25% boost. It was a 25% boost. So hopefully this means if this went from 20 to 25, that's a 25% boost. So a 25% boost to 30% to round 30 will be around 37, 38. So we'll see if this takes it up to round 37, 38. Hopefully this goes more rounds and just goes for 10 more rounds. That would be good. Adjustment, this number of rounds you can one hit kill normal enemies has been increased. Oh, okay. So yes, it's been increased from 25% or from 5 rounds, hopefully up to 10 rounds. So, or to a third. That would be so good. So hopefully again, strength training got a huge buff. This is really good because of the second one. But first off, Barista Brawl, gain more essence for melee kills. But the second, Mocha Maul, your punch is replaced with your dedicated melee weapon. I have been saying that this should just be automatic when it comes to melee weapons in the game, or having that dedicated melee slot, that your punch is automatically replaced by your dedicated melee weapon. I thought it was a huge loss for them not to have had that just as a base function of having a melee weapon. But that's fine. We've got it now in Black Ops 7. This actually makes having a dedicated melee weapon effective. Beforehand, Melee Macchiato wasn't fun because really, like, the punch sucked. Everything else really sucked about it. It was effective for getting your camos, but really ineffective before this. This makes this actually very useful. This will make melee weapons actually amazing again, because you can actually legitimately use them, especially since they also now scale with Melee Macchiato. Up next, we've got Elemental Pop. So Elemental Pop attacks can trigger random ammo mods. Changed from every bullet you fire has a small chance to apply a random ammo mod effect. This says attacks. So they normally specify in the augments, bullets hit enemies' attacks very well. So the fact that they change this from every bullet you fire to attacks can trigger random ammo mods makes me feel good. Like melee weapons will also be able to trigger random ammo mods. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember if I tested with melee weapons. And I'm pretty positive I did test it with melee weapons in my first one. All right, we got to change to vulnerability, which I know is so sad. So it went from slightly increased enemy melee weakness damage to increased enemy elemental weakness damage adjustment. This has been lessened by a modest amount. Oh, so it was slightly increased, but now it's increased. So I'm assuming slightly increased to Treyarch means increased more than just regular increase. So that means up here for durable plates has probably been nerfed. So this is probably slightly increased, but armor durability, which means that increase now means that it's not as good. Treyarch, you actually suck. You actually suck. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, my heart was just sank a little bit because Bonera Bean is amazing. So beforehand, we would get a 15% increase to base elemental damage. That's it. So they likely dropped it down to 10%. That actually sucks a lot. Would it make sense for it to be 10%? Yeah, no, it makes sense because nothing else does 10%. So dropping it down to 10% would not get rid of the need for a different, for something else. Yeah, so that part sucks a lot. Other than that, nothing else has changed. We've gotten refreshment. So killing a special or elite enemy with its elemental weakness resets your elemental pop cooldown. I can only imagine that this has to mean that the last bullet that kills them has to have procced or has the elemental weakness on it. I hope. So this means you should not use this. Excuse me. This means that you should 100% use refreshment with citrus focus, so that way you can particularly use certain weapons. Let's say that there's a map with 3 different enemy types that are, or with enemy types that are weak to 3 different elements. If you have 3 different weapons, then you can be able to kill them with each weapon if you have citrus focus and you have their elemental weakness on your weapon. I pray that this is not a full pop or proc of elemental pop, or excuse me, of the ammo mod. As an example, if there are doppelgas, I hope this does not mean that your bullet has to do napalm burst and napalm burst a proccing effect in order to technically reset your elemental pop cooldown. I pray that that's not it. Will they make it that? I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on that, because I feel like that would be so much less useful than the rest of these, because you're really giving it a chance on that. So I really hope that it's just, hey, you have napalm burst on your weapon. So just shooting and killing it with that weapon with the napalm burst will reset your elemental pop cooldown. So this will reset the elemental pop cooldown, but not the ammo mod's cooldown. And remember, we learned from last year, elemental pop has its own different cooldown that is much longer than the ammo mod base cooldowns are. The maximum amount of cooldown that you can have is 80 seconds with brain rot, but all of the cooldowns are twice as long with elemental pop on the elemental pop timer, except cryo freeze, which the minimum for elemental pop can be 15 seconds, and then again the max can be 80 seconds. So that's why you see this here. So this would effectively mean if you do kill a brain rotted enemy within 80 seconds, or like within 80 seconds, then you reset your timer. So that should be pretty good to use specifically with citrus focus. And you guys can tell me in the comments if you think it'd be great with anything else. I mean, it might be. Nah, you can use it with that one. And then we also got Rainbow Pop. Weapons with an ammo mod equipped have a chance to deal the elemental damage that an enemy is weak to. Oh, okay. Well, I wonder if this. I'm assuming so. I want to ask why use this when you can guarantee by having on citrus focus, if a weapon has an elemental pop, would only activate that one. But I guess the difference is here that you can still activate all the elements, all the ammo mods through elemental pop. But there's a higher chance that it'll just proc the elemental damage. Oh, maybe not proc, maybe not. Okay, it won't trigger. Okay, we're fine. Okay, I see. It won't trigger the ammo mod. This just means that it'll deal the elemental damage that enemy is weak to. So you can just be shooting regularly at a doppelgas, and then one of the bullets ends up becoming like a napalm burst bullet, not proccing, just fire. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, I see the difference with this. All right, can't wait to test that one too. I feel like that one's gonna be kind of difficult to test. Let's talk about Deadshot Daiquiri, because this got a bunch of changes. So improve ADS precision and increase critical damage of bullets change from aimed on sight moves to enemy critical location. I think this is because they changed what is it called when in multiplayer, when they like kind of drift? No, not stick drift. Whatever the fuck I'm not a multiplayer player anymore, guys. But whatever that is, you guys tell me down in the comments. Whatever it is in multiplayer Warzone, like when for us controller players to like get closer to what somebody's body or whatever, and then also increase critical damage to enemies. So this just says improve ADS precision and increase critical damage of bullets. So hopefully that does mean that there's any change. It might be. All right, dead break. So increase bullet damage to armor pieces versus increase damage to armor pieces. I'm assuming this means that not all things, only bullet weapons. For Deadhead, further increase Deadshot Daiquiris. I don't know why they specifically mentioned that. Critical damage bonus for guns. So this is the same thing as before, except it's just specifically listing the base damage, not anything else. So further increase the critical bonus damage for guns. So I hope and I wonder if that means that there's going to be any level of change. Probably not. But beforehand, it was 15% boost on all Deadhead critical damage. So that was cool. So we also got Dead First, which bullets deal, they specifically say bullets deal double critical damage if an enemy is at full health versus deal double critical damage if an enemy is at full health. So once again, specifying bullets, which I don't know. They also did something I did not expect them to do. And like a lot of people were saying that I was just kind of annoying with it. Dead Set, and I've been a huge advocate of Dead Set, reduce gun movement while performing advanced movement, hashtag jumping with a faster sprint out time. I specifically last year talked about this because it was pretty overpowered. Now I want to play that. You can see here how movement with and without Deadshot is completely different, and you also keep a much steadier ADS as well as you see me go through these different examples side by side, frame by frame. You can see here your weapon stays up the whole time when you're doing these mantling mechanics with Deadshot, and then also getting. I should have actually recorded getting back up from this because now apparently you can be able to sprint out faster as well. So this I love, but hey, whatever. And then also Dead Again. So this is really sad. Critical hits have a chance of adding a bullet to your magazine. They have nerfed this one. A slight cooldown has been added. Beforehand, this thing was cracked. Critical hits have a chance of adding. What this does, for a lot of weapons, it was around 45 to 50%, 50% effect chance, so it could pop again. This was so busted that essentially, as you see here, you have a 44% chance of multiple bullets returning to your magazine at one time, and on average, you would get 1.5 bullets return per effect. Or you get average 3 bullets return every 2 seconds. This was overpowered, especially for shotguns. I mean, you get 3 pops every 5 seconds. That was crazy. It was cracked. So that's kind of sad that they went ahead and nerfed that. And then from there we get Dead Heat. So temporarily increase your movement speed after getting a point blank kill. I assume that, this cannot stack with Dead Set. And then also Dead Point. Bullets deal double bonus damage to enemies within point blank range. All of these point blank things that they're not really annoying, and that the point blank range changes based on the weapon. Because if I got a sniper, I don't want point blank to be the same as a pistol. All right, moving next, we've got PhD. All right, explosive dive to prone and immunity to self-inflicted explosive damage. So I hope that this means that they did not fix the best thing about Black Ops 6 Zombies, and that was, yes, you guys all remember it, is when you do harm to the person in the game that you're playing in the game. Don't come after me, YouTube. YouTube's already blocked me and restricted my entire channel anyway, so it doesn't even fucking matter. You can do self-harm to your goddamn self in the game and get extra XP for it. So, hey. Anyway, with this, they changed dramatically all of this, as you see. So, immunity to all self-inflicted damage and status effects. This specifically says status effects. This does not mention status effects. So I'm assuming status effects are not included anymore. Hopefully that doesn't mean that this is nerfed. Dive to prone triggers an explosion. Explosive dive to prone, which increases the higher you fall. Does not talk about how that increases the higher you fall. Immunity from fall damage while diving. Explosive dive to prone and immunity to self-inflicted. So this does not specifically say that you're immune to fall damage anymore. So I hope that this is not nerfed to shit, but it seems like it might be nerfed to shit, where you just get an explosion when you dive to prone and you don't take explosive damage that is self-inflicted. I pray that it's not that. All right, so then we've got Dr. Ram. So beforehand, tactical sprint knocks down and damages base zombies. Now, for short bursts, because, by the way, we don't have tac sprint anymore, you have to specifically use a Stamin Up, augment, increase, no. You have to use specifically Dasher in order to have tac sprint now. So because of this change to the base game for sprinting, that obviously has to change the base movement with PhD if Stamin Up is not, if you don't have Stamin Up yet. So for short bursts, sprinting into normal enemies damages and knocks them down. So hopefully that's really good. And then this also works while tactical sprinting. Hopefully this means that when you are tac sprinting, because you have on the Stamin Up with Dasher, you need to do even more damage and knocks them down even longer. I really hope. So that's a change. And then PhD slider. So the difference beforehand, well, no difference in the base explanation, but sliding to enemies triggers explosions. Effectiveness when side swiping has been reduced. This augment triggers when impact occurs in the direction of travel. I talked about this specifically last year. All right, so when you would flop, when you would flop or slide or whatever, the direction that you were facing and going is the only place that it actually has the explosion. So you can see here, right here in front of my head, was the explosion. There's no explosion around my body at all. So this was extremely ineffective if zombies were to your sides and to the back of you, especially because before this, nobody knew what the core of the explosion was. You just saw and then you felt like this was very ineffective. And I taught everybody that this is why PhD doesn't feel as good. So with Black Ops 6 zombies, the most you can get was 10 zombies at one time as well. This does get buffed by EOD Technician as well. And then also with PSG Slider, you can slide 12 meters at base with PSG Slider. Tribalist buffing or nerfing this and doesn't give you any additional ammo. So Tribalist, sliding distance and speed are increased. So if you are using Tribologist as well, I said that Tribologist is nerfing you. All it does is give you a longer distance to slide. And technically that means that enemies from further can get hit, yes. But EOD gives you a larger explosion from smaller slides. You get a larger explosion from having just smaller slides. So you can one-shot more enemies with any slide. So in this case, since they've changed PSG Slider, the effectiveness when side swiping has been reduced. Already, you could not kill an enemy while sliding if you just had this on because the explosion is directly in front of you. So if an enemy is on the side and you're sliding straight down like a bowling ball and you get a strike or you get a split, you could actually split the zombies right there and they just make this even less effective, which it already was horribly ineffective beforehand. And this augment triggers when impact occurs during the direction of travel. So they nerfed PhD Slider when it shouldn't have already got a nerf. Actually, they should have increased this because it was so bad. It was so ineffective. Then we got Stuntman, Wall Jumping Creates an Explosion. Obviously, they have to add that in for the new dynamics of the game. And then Double Whammy, release a second explosion shortly after the first one. That's pretty effective. That's a good one. Up next, we've got Stamina. So obviously, as I said before, Tactical Sprint is gone. So this is pretty much changed. I will be doing a massive test. This will probably be the one perk that I will have to do a full test on, because last year I got all the values for exactly how quickly we move in the game. So that way I know exactly how basically fast to be able to test everything. So I'm gonna have to redo all of this to test and figure out which ones are specifically working. So increased movement speed, this just means our base regular movement speed as well, like our base like running speed essentially, versus probably, I'm sure probably the base walking speed as well, because you can just like slow walk, but for the most part, nobody's really actually trying to do that as often. Then we got hard target. So while sprinting, projectile damage is reduced, change from tactical sprinting. So regularly sprinting without tac sprint on. So this will work without tac sprint. And then also dasher, enable tactical sprint with increased duration. So you're gonna be able to tac sprint for longer. I wonder if it'll be the same length of time as the duration for a tac sprint is in Black Ops 6, which is 5 seconds. There was a 3-second boost and a longer refresh duration. So likely a 50% boost tactical sprint, blah, blah, blah. I will talk all about this next time, because there was sprints and sprint refreshes, and you also had different time to be able to sprint after using or after having to wait for a refresh. So we'll test this out. We'll see how this goes. We got footwork, which increased non-forward sprinting speed. So on the movement stuff, you can move faster. And then guns up, fire while sprinting. Now, we got Speed Cola next. Reload weapons and replay armor faster has been changed to increase reload and armor replating speed by our bonus by 30%. So I'm gonna assume maybe they changed this because last year this it was not correct at all. Like what they said was not correct. For the most part, is it 30% faster of one plate or all 3 plates? Each place time is reduced in the entire plating process. The entire plating process was completely shitty. Oh, it was so shitty. It was so shitty. For the record, the normal reload speed was increased by 30.3%, and empty reload speed was increased by 34.8%. But all of that is mute because of how horrible the replating animation is. I'm not like all the other creators who like hate armor. I actually love armor. I love the idea of it. I fucking hate how they have us use it. And if they just took armor away and just rebalanced the game, I'd be more than happy. Armor itself is just such a shitty mechanic and they just cannot fix it. But also increase the reload and armor replating speed by 30% bonus. They did not increase the reload and plating speed by 30%. Like, depending on the amount of plates you had, it got slower, or it was faster. Like it's not this. It's so inconsistent, and it makes sense that they took off this 30% because they were wrong and they built it like shit. Replating is shitty. Next, field upgrades recharge faster. Road upgrades recharge a bit faster, which is what it used to be. So I'm assuming that this slows down. And then we've got prestidigitation, which is reloading has a chance not to use stock ammo. I thought that was already in the game. And then ammo surge, gain a burst of speed when initiating a reload. Interesting. That's pretty awesome, especially with electric cherry. And then last but not least, we've got Wisp T, which all of this is a brand new perk. So I don't need to cover this because I'm going to cover it. And guess what? One of your favorite videos where I am deep diving into the perks, field upgrades, and ammo mods, testing every single base item with all 6 items, 9 elements to test which ones are working. Now we're combusted and also overpowered. I know you guys love it. I'm excited. I'm excited to do it all over again. All right, guys. You guys have a beautiful goddamn day. And look, I'm getting some furniture, and Minnie's right there sleeping. I'm getting some fucking furniture, and I ran out of I ran out of wallpaper, so I gotta order a whole nother, probably 2 boxes, because I gotta do that whole side, since this wall right here is gonna be in my camera. So I gotta do that side, which if I'm gonna do all of this, then I might as well just do all of this in front of me too. So I might need like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might need 5 more boxes. Oh my God. All right, well guys, I love you guys. Have a beautiful goddamn day. I'll see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the bloopers at the end, because there was a lot of bloopers, and this has been like 2 weeks since I've done one of these videos, or maybe a little bit longer. All right, I'm gonna stop yapping. Bye guys. With Black Ops 7 Zombies right around the corner, literally Black Ops 7 Zombies is coming out in less than 2 weeks. And with that, I wanted to go through all of the perks and all of their changes before we get our hands on the game. Now, there's a lot of minor, small changes, technological changes, or like verbiage changes, but I want to speculate just a little bit today, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section down below, because here on the channel, I'm going to go through all the perks and mods and fit upgrades, which they're calling enhancements now. So I don't know if I'll change up my intros, but with that, let's get right to the video. So I am going through all the perks and mods and fit upgrades to test every single base item with all 9 augments, testing which ones are working, not working, busted, and also overpowered. Now, in today's video, we're actually going to go into all of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Damn, 12. There's fucking 12. I am going through all the perks and mods and fit upgrades, testing every single base item with all 9 augments. I'm gonna fuck that up for forever. I'm gonna fuck that up for forever. Okay. All right. Make sure. Center. My hat right. Now. Nope. Oh yeah. Now, the very first thing that I do want to talk about before we actually dive into the perks and augments are that they actually did update the way that all of the perks, the perk cans, and also the the augments look. So, or like the augment like icons look. So like the new ones actually have a pretty unique 3D bevel onto them. They just look a little bit more high quality. I want to be able to just talk a little bit about that. But what you're going to be able to see here on my let's just go from first. All right, so let's just go ahead and get straight into this. No, because I'm already.